viewing there, so you can hear us, you can see us, and you can see everything that we're talking about. And I'd love for you to join us. We have a lot to talk about there today, so you can, but I want to share with you one other thing that I'm very proud of, because this is a little bit in the beginning, that I want to talk about what I call the book that I wrote. So I'm going to show you a little bit about it. It's called The Jesus Gospel. So this is the first time in history, to my knowledge, that anybody has taken the Bible, the four books of the Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, and combined them word for word into one simple story, only using the words for the Bible. So go to jesusgospel.com, jesusgospel.com, and pick up that book. It'd be great for you to know that and know a little bit about it. So I want to talk about, we got 5 guests today. These are what we call our quick fire. I call them our quick fire interviews. We have the first one on the chopping block, so to speak, Bill Conroy. He's a veteran journalist, 40 years of experience as a staff reporter, editor-in-chief, freelance correspondent at print and online publications in the U.S. and Mexico, author of a number of nonfiction books. We're going to look at one of them, The Great Pretense, a tour through the boneyard of the CIA drug wars. And today we're going to talk about Venezuela. But before we do that, I would like you to tell me a little bit about your book. Let's show it here, because it's brand new, isn't it, Bill?
Yes, it is.
All right. Tell me about your book.
Well, basically, it's part memoir, part expose, and I guess part thriller. At least it thrilled me when I was living it. And so, and it takes a look at, the intersection of the war on drugs with law enforcement, our intelligence agencies, primarily the CIA, which is the big dog, and the narco trafficking world, and how they all intersect and are kind of in the same playing field, but with various turf wars that cause, some issues. For example, the CIA's objective is not drug trafficking; it's, taking marching orders from the White House and their national security objectives. So they cultivate assets in the narco trafficking world, many of whom have connected to governments that they might be targeting. On the other hand, the DEA wants to bust the drugs, so they're going after the same people that the CIA may be using as assets, and they steal each other's informants. There's plenty. It's all based on my reporting, so it's not just like a polemic. There's facts. There's pages and pages of notes. So that's kind of a short capsule of what it's about.
The book, The Great Pretense, a tour through the boneyard of the CIA's war. Go and pick it up, people. But today, Bill, you and I are going to talk about what's something huge in the news. Everybody's talking about it. I want to talk about it. Hopefully you do. Venezuela. You're kind of an expert in this. You have an interesting point of view. We talked a little bit before we came on air. I want to hear your point of view. So tell us, from your opinion, what's going on with the U.S. and Venezuela.
Well, my point of view is kind of informed by past coups I've covered in Latin America, like Honduras I covered. I actually was involved in covering prior coup attempts in Venezuela. There's been 2 under Bush, and then this is the second one under Trump, because he tried it in the first term, but he didn't use the military then. So this time we've got a large portion of our fleet off the coast of Venezuela as kind of the sword of Damocles hanging over what's left of the Maduro regime. They decapitated Maduro. I mean, nobody's going to argue with the fact that the U.S. military, nobody's going to want to go up against the U.S. military in the operation they pulled off. I mean, under orders, they've been building toward this for a while, and planning was flawless. I mean, right? But there's now the question of what happens next, because essentially they left the regime in power, right? That they just put the vice president.
You can't get rid of everybody, right?
Well, no, but this is the question. Why did they do that? And this is what all coups come down to, or all, people trying to stave off coups, whatever, is the military and the security forces. And the reason that they kept the regime in place, a large part of it is because those particular forces we're not going to support the opposition candidate. So it's going to be easier to keep things running smoothly on an interim basis with the current regime, which doesn't really change anything except they're now attempting to give them orders to do. For example, Trump just said that he wants them to send 30 to 50 million barrels of oil to the U.S. It's about a 2 month supply. And then they're going to sell that, but it's vague about how that's going to be done and where the money's going to go. And he's also told them to expel all the advisors from Russia, China, Iran, and Cuba. So we'll see. Now the regime may continue to follow orders, or they may be buying time. But in any event, if we can't pull this off, I mean, in order to go in and fix up their oil infrastructure, which by the way, the Chinese and Russians have billions of dollars invested in too. So nationalizing it might also implicate, their interests and how they'll respond.
Well,
Um,
let me review your point of view because I think it's important. You're not necessarily for or against it, but what you are for is for not taking over a country and leaving it so that it becomes a mess worse than it was before. I think we saw that in Iran. You said you saw that in Afghanistan. You saw that in Cuba. Um, what I'm hearing you say is like, okay, we have good intentions, United States. We make an informed move, but we're not necessarily as committed to the end result as we should be. Is that kind of correct?
Well, yeah, in a big takeaway, because it's going to cost a lot of money to do this, and unfortunately, possibly some U.S. blood. Because if we have to go in there to do any of this, even if we're just upgrading the infrastructure, if there's a resistance movement in the country and they see us as occupiers, then we have Iraq all over again. We have bombs and sabotage and just and they don't have to win. It's a resistance. They just have to not lose, and kind of keep picking away at us and costing us blood and treasure to the point where the politics back here, people start to say, why are we doing this? And one of the things that could come from this, if it's a big enough mess, is it actually shuts down. Even though Venezuela is supplying oil primarily to China and Cuba, mostly China, and a little bit to the U.S. But if for some reason their oil goes offline, all that oil has to get made up somewhere. It's going to raise the price of oil for everyone, including U.S. consumers, if the supply of oil is shrunk. So there's a lot of downside to this. And I haven't yet seen the long-term plan of, like, for one, are we just going to leave this regime in place? Because that was supposedly the whole reason we're going in there.
Well,
If we're if we're going to replace it, what is the plan for doing that without causing the country to go into total chaos?
well, you have a lot of background, Bill, and I want to hear your expertise. So I would like to hear what your opinion is. What's the best outcome out of this that could happen from here, from where we're at going forward?
Well, from my point of view, the best outcome would be a solution in which hear me out on this, in which the Venezuelan people feel they have self-determination still, that they're not
That's
being
great.
ruled as a colony, because that's a recipe for disaster. It just would be. And how you pull that off, I don't know, because you have this problem of the military and the state security forces who are not real keen on giving up their power there without, a gunfight potentially. But maybe there's a solution I don't see. I mean, I admit there's a lot of things. It's like a chessboard, and everyone's moving their pieces, and seeing the outcome is not clear. There's some larger geopolitical calculations going on with China and Russia because they're in there or they're invested there, and Cuba, which depends on Venezuelan oil, which you can choke off and destabilize their economy. But let's say best case scenario, we destabilize or we bring down both these governments, then we got to rebuild them. And that's a lot of money. And are we committed to that? Or are we going to just let them go into chaos and say, oh, that's not our problem. We'll just secure the oil fields there and take a few casualties fighting off the resistance. But that's something the American people can live with. I don't know that they can anymore.
Well,
Um,
I believe what I've seen is that the Venezuelan people are happy about Maduro. He was pretty evil. He wasn't even elected. So that is good. The point is, can we get in back to a democratic
Right. Well,
nation?
the rub. Half the Venezuelan people, it's like here, half the Venezuelan people still support the regime. Another half are totally against it. Maybe you could say it's 70-30. It doesn't matter. The regime in power controls the military right now and the state security forces, which are cracking down on any dissent right now. Anyone that so you still have a very repressive military, basically martial law there now because they're under attack. So we would declare martial law if we were under attack. So how do you break that cycle? How do what do you do? There's 125,000 active personnel in the Venezuelan military. If you go in and do get them to lay down their guns, what's to stop a bunch of them doing what they did in Iraq and forming guerrilla groups that continue to work to destabilize the country because they're not happy with the idea that they're being occupied? How would any new government not suffer a crisis of credibility if the world community and enough people in Venezuela feel it's an imposed government by the United States? These are
About
I'm not
45 seconds left here,
I'm just saying
Bill.
these are problems that we got to be honest about addressing. It's not that the administration, it's not about politics. It's about practicality,
Oh,
really.
you're bringing up excellent points, okay? And I appreciate that because I didn't think about this, and I think maybe a lot of people in our audience think about this. It's just a matter of getting in there and making a change. There has to be something committed to make it that the people speak, and there has to be something that maybe we don't spend billions and billions of dollars building up that country just for it to turn into chaos. You have an excellent point of view, Bill. We're about ready to go here. A couple of seconds left. What would you want to leave our audience with?
Well, I guess the only thing is I would like for people to just learn as much as they can about the situation from sources they trust and analyze it, think about it. Don't be fed information. You're smart enough to figure this out on your own and come to your own conclusions.
Thank you very much, Bill. Thanks for joining. We really appreciate you being here. I hope to see you here again. Have a wonderful day.
All right, you too. Thanks for the
Thank
time.
you. Hello,
Hi, how are you?
and how are you?
Good, how are yourself?
Very good. Here's our next guest. We are, as you know, we are quick fire interviews here, one after another. But I do want to remind everybody that we are the Underdog Report. You can watch us live at the Underdog Report on YouTube, which is at the Underdog Report, which is right there, as you can see. And we are on Multicultural Radio, WPAT, 9:30 a.m. on your radio dial. 10 million people listening. Every one of them in the city has got their ear to the radio now. Well, at least I hope they do. And please, if you get the chance, go to my book, The Jesus Gospel, jesusgospel.com. So I want to talk about our next guest, Shirin. Is I'm pronouncing it correctly?
Yes, yes.
She's a very interesting person. I'm really excited to talk to you. You're a former political prisoner, which is scary because when you talk about that in your country of Iran, it was pretty serious. You're a human rights advocate and entrepreneur. Only at 15 years old, during the Iranian Revolution, you were involved in pro-democratic activities, and then you were eventually arrested. You were one of the youngest prisoners, political prisoners of your time in the world. You reached international attention, but you also endured severe torture in prison. And we're here to talk about what's going on in Iran, and we're talking about Rana Fagar. Pronounce her name. Raina Fug. Pronounce Raina's name, please.
Who
The bride.
pronounce? Oh, I don't have it right in front of me.
Okay, she's only a 15-year-old bride. So tell us about your imprisonment. Wow, and what you endured.
Well, I think when you say prison, it's very self-defined, especially if you are in prison with a dictatorship controlling the prisons. As I always say, that I forgot what happened to me, but what always remains with me is that the last minutes that we said goodbye to our friends, and we knew that they are being taken for executions. Every afternoon, they would call a list, and that list, it meant that And they would say, pack up your stuff. And we knew that means taking them for the final stages of executions. And those goodbyes and those moments were the hardest time. And I never forget that. I never forget those moments. And that's why that meant for me that when I landed in America, I knew that this is my destiny. If there was a reason that I was kept alive and brought to here, then that means that I have to fight and I have to be the voice of my friends and families and relatives who were executed. And, you know, my own cousin was executed within 4 days of his arrest.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, so that's why that made me committed to fight for them, and also to see this will end once and for all, so Iranian people can be free, men and women, young and old, and they can have their own idea, they could have their own freedom of expression, and let them to
Well,
decide on their own.
Shirin,
Yeah.
let's be honest. This is in the news big time today. There's a lot of news about the Iranian people speaking up. They're on the streets larger than ever before, trying to get over what is they view as an oppressive government. Is that correct?
Yes, yes. So as you have seen in past 11, 12 days that Iranian people are out, and it's not only they are protesting, but it's expanding and it's very organized. It's obvious that there are organized resistance units that are inside of Iran. They are fighting for freedom and democracy and liberation of Iran. It's very obvious that they are protesting, they're protecting the protesters, and also they are shaping the way the protest is going on. So it is in the news. It has been spread. I have to say that these people are all supporters of National Council of Resistance of Iran. National Council of Resistance is a coalition of opposition groups and individuals that is led by a woman. She is assigned or elected for being the president of the National Council of Resistance. Her name is Mariam Rajavi. She has a 10-point plan for the future of Iran. So everything is organized and everything is shaping, and we are
Now,
seeing that now
I
is
also
spilling over.
I want to interrupt. You wanted to. I was told that you'd wanted to talk about a child bride that got married, was abused by her husband, killed him, and then she was executed for the abuse. Is that something you want to talk about?
Yes, well, she wasn't the only one. There are many.
Many.
Unfortunately, we in Iran there is no rule to protect the women
Right.
from the violence and also from rape. We have many of the rape victims that have been hanged for protecting themselves, for defending themselves, and we have many child bride that they were forced to marriage, and then they had abusive most cases much older than them, and then they were they were abused physically and mentally, and in sometimes in an accident, just defending themselves, the man has been killed or died, and but nevertheless they are condemned to executions, and they have kids. This woman that I can't remember right now her name, but she was only she had a 13-year-old child. She was married when she was 9. So imagine that at the age of 20 some years old, she's been executed because she was defending her child and herself, and there was a fight. So there is no law in supporting and protecting women in Iran, and that is
Other women
a real
speaking
issue.
up. I know there's a risk to it. Even for the women to speak up, I've heard that even for them to drive is difficult, not an easy thing. But are they speaking up about these atrocities and that they want to change the government? Are they actively involved?
Yes, if you look at the protests right now, you see many women, young girls, young women, leading
Good,
the protests,
good.
and they are chanting because they are the um, part of the society that has been systematically suppressed, and because of the technology, they see how other women around the world are progressing, and of course, Iranian women are defiant and they fight, and they are standing up, and we are seeing that they are fighting more. But don't forget, even during when I was in prison, we are talking about years ago, there were so many young women, uh, as young as 13. I had a cellmate that she was 13, and the only thing I know about her, her name was Zahra. And Zahra, it was under so much torture because they wanted her to reveal information about her brothers, and she refused, and she was executed. So the defiance has been going on, and these stories, these things has been hidden in the society. But every family that you talk to, they have someone that was in prison or was executed or was forced to leave the country to fight in order to be able to continue the fight.
We have about a minute left. What do you want the American people to take away from this interview, Shirin? What do you want them to understand about Iran?
Well, I want people to know that Iranian people have been fighting for their freedom and democracy, and this is the time to recognize their rights for the regime change. They are rejecting both monarchy and the supreme leadership. We want equality. We want secular regime. We want our constitution to be rewritten. We want the abolish of the executions, and we want the rights that everyone enjoys here. So stand up with the Iranian people and Iranian resistance, and for with us. We have if they are anywhere and they are hearing me, we are having a rally on Saturday, right in front of White House at 11 a.m. Join us.
This
If not,
Saturday,
spread the word.
this
If,
Saturday, in front of the White House, the Iranian people are going to be speaking. Please join them. Thank you so much, Shirin, for joining us. I appreciate you having us here. You told us things we didn't know and that we should know about what's going on. Thank you very much, and you have a wonderful day.
Thank you very much for having me.
Yes, it was enjoyable, very, very much so. So, our next guest I want to talk to, and that is Mr. Mark Blitz. Mark, how are you, sir?
Hey, doing great, Gary.
That's great. Well, I love the big smile here. So give me a second here. I just want to talk about a couple of things before we go. Remind everybody that we are on, as I mentioned before, WPAT. On your radio dial, WPAT 9:30 a.m. We are live there. But we are also live at YouTube, which is, the YouTube channel is at the Underdog Report, as you can see. Underdog Report, and you can see all of them, all of my past live interviews, and you can even see the one that's going on now. And I am the author of the book, The Jesus Gospel, at jesusgospel.com. Please pick up a copy. It's your first time in history, endorsed by Clarence Thomas from the Supreme Court. Okay, and so it's the first time in history that I know of that people have taken the four Gospels word for word and combined them into a single text, only using the words from the Bible. Hey, we got a good guy here, Mark Blitz. Let me tell you about him because I'm excited to talk about him. He was raised Catholic, and so was I, and spent 4 years in Catholic seminary. Hey, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Mark, he only knows Latin. He not only does he know Latin, but he can conduct a whole Catholic Latin mass. And I remember that. I'm old enough to remember when the masses were done in Catholic in Latin. He's familiar with the Catholic hierarchy, doctrine, culture, hey, anything about that. founder and senior pastor of El Shaddai Ministries. I think there's a bunch of them around. That's not the only one. And well-known speaker on the Feast of the Lord. By the way, I want to tell you, Mark, I do a Bible study every Thursday. I'd love for you to come on sometime and
Sure.
teach about the feast. That's something I've never really studied as much as I should, but it'd be interesting. But we're here to talk about the Australian attacks, and we're here to talk about anti-Semitism. And the first question I have for you is, what is Pam Bondi doing in Australia, and why they named the shirt for her?
Dominus vobiscum. No.
That's a joke, as you know. So let's be a little bit more serious. There's obviously anti-Semitism going on in the world. Tell me about your take, what really happened in Australia when two people opened fire. How many people were killed, Mark?
Oh, quite a few. There were quite a few. But what was amazing is that this had been going on, the anti-Semitism, for several years in Australia. This was not just some random thing that just happened to happen in Australia. Over several years, they've had several different attacks, and they've been begging the Australian government to do something about it. Plus, Israel even warned the Australian government that this was coming. But what was amazing, though, too, it was a moderate Muslim who actually took the terrorists down to the ground.
I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah, it was a Muslim.
God bless him. Is that the guy they said on the video they actually tackled him?
Yeah. And he got shot a couple of times. And oh my goodness.
I saw the video. When did he get shot?
I didn't watch the whole video to see when, but he was shot. And it was amazing that even the Israeli government, a whole bunch of Jews, he's now raised, they started a GoFundMe for his injury. He raised over $1.5 million.
Well, good for him.
I know.
Lives.
I know.
Now, there was a Jewish festival or a ceremony going on the beach, right? It wasn't just Australians. No. It was Jewish Australians, right?
Right. It was Hanukkah, and they were observing it. And oh my goodness, here this terrorist attack happens, but it was absolutely horrendous. But now I think the Australian government is finally being more accountable and responsible, and they're doing things about it. But it was absolutely horrible what had happened there during their Hanukkah ceremony.
Well, as you know, Nick, the mainstream media doesn't cover this as much. Basically, I'm on X all the time, seeing much better news. You're on this. We're on 10 million people can hear this in New York City. Tell me what you want people to know that the news isn't telling us.
That radical Islam with Qatar. Qatar is the main financer of radical Islam, but they're also the main funder of American universities. They're the ones that are supporting the universities, the radical Islam teaching. They have input into Pearson's Publishing, the largest college textbook publisher in the world. They're working with Qatar. And that's where all the anti-Islamic education is coming in. They've given billions of dollars to Cornell and several universities.
Well, I'm a graduate. I got my MBA from Columbia University. They've been very, very left-leaning. You would think in New York City, with all the Jewish population, they would be pro-Jewish. They don't seem to be.
Well, this last election with Mamdani, I don't know if you knew this, but 33% of the Jewish population voted for him. Now, he only won by
wait, is that true?
Yeah, you can check this out. He only beat Cuomo by 10%, but the Jewish population is like 15%, but 33% of the Jews supported Mamdani, and 67% of Jews under 40 supported him.
Do you think it's just, I hate Trump and I don't want a Republican in there? Because it's kind of the same thing happened in Miami. Would you say that's kind of...
I think some of it is that, but there is a lot of secular Jews who are very left-leaning liberal, and they just want to be loved and not have a Holocaust happen again. So this is why they're very left.
That's not a bad thing. Nobody wants the Holocaust again.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of Jews want to be loved by the world, and they want to assimilate, and they feel that if they're kind to the world will be kind to them, but they don't realize that never works. And so they have to realize that, and I think this is why a lot of Jews are going to be leaving New York, and they're going to find out just how bad of an idea it was to support Mondani.
Well, the problem is that you bring so many people leave, and so many left-wing people stay. What is the chances of New York, in your opinion, of ever getting a Republican governor again? I used to work in New York City, by the way. I used to work there before Giuliani, and I used to get in on the bus like at about 6 o'clock in the morning. There were prostitutes on the street. There was drug people on the street. I would walk from the Port Authority. You take your life in your hands to a certain extent. And then Giuliani completely changed it. What's the chances of that happening again?
I'm not sure. I don't know if I ever really trust the elections. With all the fraud that happens in elections, once someone gets in there, they want to maintain control so they could do things to make sure they stay in control. But I think it would be great if they got another Republican governor, or mayor, as long as they weren't woke.
Thank you very much. Yes, woke. Now, you're actually a pastor, which is very interesting. I wanted to talk a little bit about that because that's very interesting. Tell me a little bit about your congregation. You're raised Catholic, but are you they call it Messianic Jew now? Please explain.
No, I am Jewish on my father's side, but not on. I have relatives who died in the Holocaust. They're listed, Biltzes are listed in Yad Vashem, but it's on my father's side, not my mother's side. So I'm not considered Jewish, so to speak. But I'm not. I started a congregation. I can't call it a Messianic congregation because there's not a lot of Jews, so-called Jews in it. But we are a congregation that tries to connect Jews with Christians. I'm very involved with Orthodox rabbis. I was just on a Zoom call for 1 hour. I was on a Zoom call with a famous Orthodox rabbi out of that New York area. Just got done before I came on here. But I have Orthodox rabbis that fly all the way from Israel to come to our congregation and speak. Because
fantastic.
Most Christians have never heard an Orthodox rabbi speak, and I want them to meet them. I want both sides to meet. So what I do, I basically teach about the feast. They are so important, Gary. That's mind-blowing.
And I got to be honest with you, it's one of my weak areas. So this is why I definitely want you to come on my Bible study and talk about it. We got 1 minute left, Mark. What do you want to leave the American people with regarding what happened in Australia, what's going on in the world, what they should be thinking about, and what they should be active about?
Get very active on your school board to stop all the anti-Semitism that's in the books. But the other thing is, don't trust Qatar. Qatar and Turkey.
Let's be honest, the anti-Christianity, it's also there. So Judeo-Christian, right? And Qatar is what? Qatar's a country? Didn't even know.
Yeah. Qatar's a country that is trying to push the Muslim Brotherhood. They're trying to destroy America. We can't be making deals with Qatar.
Wow, that's very interesting. Thank you so much. You're exciting. You're interesting. I'd love to talk to you again. Well, I have your information. I'll give you a call or an email, and we'll invite you to talk about the feast. So love to hear that. Thank you for joining us, Mark. God bless you.
Bless you too. Bye.
Thank you. All right. Well, we're going to go to our next host, and we love these quick fire hosts, and that's Mr. Nick Bryan. Nick, how are you?
I'm pretty good. How are you?
Yeah, you're good. I want to see. I see him on video. Just hold on a second. I got a couple of things I'm going to talk about in advance. I just want to remind everybody that we are on Multicultural Radio, WPAT 930 AM on your radio dial. There are about approximately 10 million people in New York City. Yes, it sounds so nice. We named it twice. And we're also on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/The Underdog Report Live. I am the author of the book, The Jesus Gospel, jesusgospel.com, the only time, in my knowledge, that people have put the four Gospels together word for word, only using the words from the Gospel. And I'd love to tell you, it is also endorsed by Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas. So thank you. Pick up a copy of that book, jesusgospel.com. And I'd like to tell you a little about Mr. Nick Bryan. He's an investigative journalist and director of Epstein Justice. Boy, everything we're talking about today is really in the news. I love this segment. We had a great time. You spent 7 years investigating child sex trafficking. Oh, that's so disgusting. It must be very difficult to do that. I don't even want to think about it. But it needs to be thought about. It needs to be investigated. But you're also saying it's covered up by state and federal authorities, which is very scary. I want to talk about that. And you wrote the book, The Franklin Scandal, a story of porn brokers and child abuse. I want to talk about that book also when we get the chance. But tell me a little bit about yourself.
I'm a journalist. I've been a freelance journalist writer for 35 years, actually 30 years. And I've always been attracted to the issue of lower socioeconomic children or child
And
abuse.
here's your book. It's available on Amazon and other places. The Franklin Scandal. Quickly, what is this about?
The Franklin scandal, Epstein is almost a carbon copy of the Franklin scandal. So the Franklin scandal occurred in the 1980s, and it was about a child trafficking network that trafficked children from coast to coast. And one of the individuals was a CIA asset, and blackmail was involved, and it required a cover up by both federal and state law enforcement. So what we're seeing with Epstein, we have seen before with the Franklin scandal.
Wow, it's scary stuff. A lot of people don't want to talk about it, but we need people like you. So people need to be woken up. Tell us what's going on.
Well, at this point, Pam Bondi, I'll kind of walk you back to Pam Bondi saying that she had the Epstein files on her
Yeah,
desk.
we're all excited. Yeah, she's going to release it.
And I started investigating Epstein in 2012. And I acquired his black book in 2012. And I live in New York City, which is the epicenter of publishing. And I couldn't get anybody to touch the black book. And then a couple of years later, I got his flight logs, and I couldn't get anybody to touch the black book and the flight logs. And finally, Gawker published it, and we were able to get that out. And I think that was quite kind of a quantum leap in our understanding of Jeffrey Epstein and his ilk. Now, with Bondi, Trump had said that he was going to be transparent with Epstein. He had made that promise, and Bondi had said that the files are on her desk. And then when she released them, I knew it was going to be bad, because when I released the black book, I told Gawker adults, their phone number should be redacted, and with victims, Epstein euphemistically had a number of victims in that book, and it was euphemistically called massage. And I said all the people with under the massage heading should have their last names redacted and also their numbers. So we did that. We were responsible. And when Bondi released the black book that I had released 10 years earlier, everything was redacted.
Yeah, we heard about that. But I also heard that you could copy and paste it.
No, that is the latest round. So I'll kind of walk you through it. So I knew at that point that the Trump administration wasn't acting in good faith. And then Bondi said that she'd been bamboozled by the FBI field office, and that the documents would be released, and only things pertaining to national security would be redacted. But she keeps digging herself in a deeper hole, because how are a bunch of child molesters? Why did they have anything to do with national security? I mean, that's kind of a chilling thought.
Well,
And
let's put two and two together. What does that have to do with the national security? Well, because people who are involved in national security may be on that list, right?
or people that are blackmailed by national security agencies
So
could be
tell
on
me
it.
what you think Trump and Bondi should be doing, because it's so confusing.
Well, let me. So Bondi also said that there was, because there was a tremendous amount of video footage that was taken on Jeffrey
Yeah.
Epstein's homes, and the government said 300 gigabytes, and there was all this brouhaha, and then on July 5th, the Department of Justice released a document that said that Jeffrey Epstein had over 1,000 victims, and he and Maxwell had acted alone, and that he downloaded all his child abuse material from the internet. But Bondi had said previously that there was footage of Jeffrey Epstein molesting underage girls. So that document on July 5th was filled with egregious lies. I mean, outright falsehoods. And then the pressure started to build again because people really wanted to know the truth about this. This is, according to the Centers for Disease Control, approximately 25% of underage girls have been molested in the United States, and
What percent? Say that one more time.
25% of underage girls have been
Of
molested.
underage girls, my
Yes.
goodness, not even all women. 20. That's a horrible number.
And 5% of underage boys. Now, people in the field think it's much higher than underage boys for underage boys, but underage boys are reluctant to, and men are reluctant to talk about that. But anyway, if you just go with the current numbers by the CDC, you've got 50 million Americans that were molested when they were underage.
Wow.
So,
Wow.
so this is really, these are heinous crimes. And what the government has been trying to do is cover them up. The government has been, and it just isn't the Trump administration. It was the Bush 2 administration that started the cover up. And it was the Obama administration that didn't touch it. Trump didn't touch it in his first term, and Biden didn't touch it. And then Trump said that he would be transparent about it. And I think Trump thought that he could open Pandora's box ever so slightly and then slam it shut. But once you open Pandora's box, the curse is out. So the government has tried to put that curse back into Pandora's box, but it has not been able to. Now we've got these documents that are coming out, and the government isn't complying with the law as far as when they should be released, and it's not complying with the law as far as its redaction of perpetrators.
So getting back to my original question, what is your you're an expert at this. I don't know much about it. What should be done? What is your recommendation?
I am the director of a nonprofit organization called Epstein Justice. And what we're proposing is an independent congressional commission look into this. And independent congressional commissions are very unique. They do not need the executive branch. They need a majority in the House and they need a majority in the Senate. But oftentimes, independent congressional commissions
Here's your website. Can you see it, Nick?
There it is. Yeah, hire independent investigators, and this is actually because so many presidential administrations have been involved in the cover-up. We need an independent group to come in and look at this and look at all the redactions. There was a major investigation into Jeffrey Epstein in 2007, 2008 by the feds, the FBI, and we've been told that there was a 60-count indictment or a 50-count indictment before Jeffrey Epstein got his sweetheart deal in Alexandria.
Well, Nick, we got about 30 seconds here. Give me a quick review. What you want to take away? What do you want people to know?
I would say if you don't want this cover up, go to EpsteinJustice.com and come to our next webinar. Our next webinar is next Thursday, the 15th at 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. And you can see what we're about and you can interact with us.
Okay, that's the recommendation. Nick, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it. You shed some light on something that's so confusing and so horrific. And we just want justice for these people. So thank you very much. I hope they talk to you again and we'll see you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye. We have my good friend is coming next. I think he's here. We're going to see him and say hello to him. His name is Stephen. Stephen, are you there? Stephen Williford. He's from Gun Owners of America. And let me show you that. Gun Owners of America. He's here to talk about some interesting things. We'll show you his website. Gun Owners of America. And they basically, they're for the Second Amendment. That's what they are. They're for the Second Amendment, and they're for keeping the rights of American people. Now, Stephen is known as the Barefoot Defender, and the reason he's known for that is because he is, in my opinion, a friend of mine. I met him when I was in San Antonio. Thank you. We had a great lunch together and we hung out. But he is the hero that got into a duel, a rifle duel with a guy that was killing people in a church, and he was able to shoot. The guy shot 10 shots at Stephen, missed him, thank God. But Stephen's a great shot, and he hit him 6 times. 2 were serious. Say hello, Stephen. How are you?
I am doing superb. How are you doing, sir?
It looks great. You look great there. Did you a little shave there after Christmas? You were looking like Santa Claus at Christmas, but now it looks like.
Months away after Christmas.
Well, I hope you had a good Christmas. Listen, Stephen, you are a friend. I enjoyed our time together. I really did enjoy it. And you're an American hero. Thank you for what you did. You also teach people and you teach churches how to defend themselves. If you're interested in getting contact with Stephen to come to your church, just go to his website, thebarefootdefender.com, thebarefootdefender.com. Here it is on your website. And you can contact him. He's also wrote the book about a town called Sutherland Springs. You should get that book. I still haven't seen it, Stephen. I'm still waiting for my copy.
I need to get on the stick and make that happen.
And of course, but you represent Gun Owners of America. That's why you're here today. And you want to talk about something specific. And let's get right into that because it has to do with the ATF's violations. That's the American, what is it? The American Tax and what does it stand for, ATF?
ATF is alcohol, tobacco, and firearms. The NFA Act, were you talking about the NFA tax?
Well, I'm just talking about, I was told that you wanted to talk about the ATF's violations recently.
Well, it's a lot of violations. The ATF, most recently, what has come up is first Pam Bondi and their new organization that they started has charged California actually the legality of their ammunition background checks.
Is that the tariff amendment? Is that what that is? They call it the Tahara Hart Amendment?
No, I don't think so. But they're actually suing California for their unconstitutional background checks for ammunition, and we also kind of got a win in the Ninth Circuit for now. And it's crazy anytime that we get any kind of win in the Ninth Circuit. But we've been fighting for open carry to be able to happen in California. They have banned open carry of firearms altogether. And the Ninth Circuit at this point, and it was a judge, like a 3-judge panel, has said that it is unconstitutional to keep people from carrying open carry. And that will probably go to a full panel review of the Ninth Circuit. So it'll go to the Ninth Circuit and it'll probably get overturned. We fully expect that because the Ninth Circuit is really liberal and really anti-gun, but then that will be appealed and go all the way to the Supreme Court.
Let's talk about ammunition for a second. People have a distorted view of ammunition. Every time you hear the news, they said, oh, this person had 50 rounds of ammunition on them. And it's like they make it a big deal, like 50 rounds. I just want to let you know, I do go shooting myself. Okay. And we have 15-minute slot and I shoot. I have 2 or 3 weapons I will use. And it is not, it is typical in that 15-minute period to shoot 100 rounds. I mean, so how many rounds do you need to buy? Well, you need to buy as many as you can, right?
If you know how much ammo you have, you don't have enough.
So what are they trying to do in California with the ammo?
Well, so every time you go in to buy a box of ammunition, you have to go through a federal background check every time you buy a box of ammunition. Now, if you're buying it for a gun that you've already went through a background check, that's really silliness.
Yes.
And why would you be buying ammo if you didn't have a gun? And they say it's only 0.002%. Let that soak in. 0.002% of them stopping the purchase of being legally stopped. The rest of them are law-abiding citizens. They got stopped for whatever reason, clerical issues or something like that. And honestly, a right delayed is a right denied. And
Absolutely. If they say you can't do it until we check this out, that means you can't do it. And I just want to point out that, we can see in your background, this is your man, Dan, I guess, all of your weapons you have there. But, you've already proved yourself. You stopped someone that was actively killing. I think he killed 24 people.
26 people.
26. And he wounded how many?
He wounded over 20.
All 20 of those would have been dead if you hadn't stopped him, because he had him in a closed space. There was no place to go. And you ran out in your bare feet. That's why they call you the barefoot defender. And you got into a gun battle. It was the OK Corral in Texas. Thank you. But you proved yourself. So people who are carrying open carry, they're the good guys.
And let me tell you, if you only have 1,000 rounds of ammunition, there's something wrong with you.
And it's true, because if you go once a week, that's 400 rounds, you're gone already. So and that's 15 minutes. So if I stay for 2 sessions, that could be 200 rounds. So I think I don't like the way the media portrays the number of rounds. It doesn't make a difference. If you have a gun, it's useless if you don't have the ammunition.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And what they try to say is, oh, you have the right to bear arms, but we're gonna control you getting any ammunition for it. Well, that totally negates the Second Amendment altogether. Please go to gunowners.org. Look around at what's going on.
Let's
Shot
let's
shows
go,
coming
let's
up.
go let's go there now. Let's go to gunowners.org. I'll show everybody that website.
Shot show's coming up in 2 weeks.
What's coming up? What is?
SHOT Show is the largest firearms industry show in the world, and it's held in Las Vegas. Now,
Wow.
you can't just go to SHOT Show as general public. You have to be in the firearms industry. However, SHOT Show is 4 casinos large,
Wow.
and it is in 4 floors and 4 casinos. It is huge. You can't see everything. It's like a 5-day event, and you can't see all of it in 5 days, even if you just continue to walk straight through and
Tell
not.
me, what are the key things that's going to be discussed this year?
Well, SHOT Show is not being discussing anything. It's all the industry showing their wares and making
Oh,
connections.
I see. I'm
And
sorry.
so Smith and Wesson, Springfield, Colt, CZ, uh, you name it,
The
it's
6 hour. Yeah.
you,
I have a Springfield. I have 2 Springfields myself. Yeah.
you can see it all, you can pick it up, you can feel it, you can see what the new industry things are. Nothing can be sold at SHOT Show, so you can't just go and buy a gun at SHOT Show. However, you can see whatever there is to see and see all the exciting stuff, and maybe we'll talk about that at the next the next time we meet, all the new things that make the big splash at SHOT Show.
Now, I would like to hear about that. And now you said that you were going to get, we were going to get Kyle on the show. He disappeared. He got married, but he came back. So if you can still touch with him, I'd love to get him on the show
I
with
will
us.
reach out to him now. But when he disappeared, he actually legally changed his name and did away with all his phone contacts. So
Okay.
I'm not even sure that I can get his phone contact
Well,
because he
he was being attacked. So I'm not saying what he did was right, but I also saying I can understand it. He was definitely
well,
being.
anybody that takes a strong pro-gun stance, like Kyle and myself, is going to get a certain amount of attack from the left. And
You have about 45 seconds on the air. Of course, you know, since you're the last person, the last guest, you have special compensation. We'll keep you on the YouTube. But for the next 35 seconds, tell us what you want people to know.
please, if you're a gun owner and you believe in the Second Amendment, please go to gunowners.org.
Here
And
it is, gunowners.org.
it's only $25 for an annual membership. And right now we're having a real membership drive. It's only $1,000 for a lifetime membership, and you'll never have to pay again after it's paid off. And we can break it down into $50 a month payments.
Thank you
And
very much. That's gunowners.org, gunowners.org. Good day. So we're off the air here. Thank you very much. But we are still on the YouTube channel, and this thing stays forever. And you could just forward this to anyone you want. That's YouTube at the Underdog Report, at the Underdog Report. So let's spend 5 minutes together. You're special, so you get some special compensation because you're my friend. What else would you want to discuss?
Put the book out there.
Oh yeah, definitely. Let's get that book out
Sutherland
there.
Springs. You can find it on Amazon. Please go to a town called Sutherland Springs, purchase my book, and read it, and then afterwards go to Amazon and give me a review. I think it is a book, and it made it to the #1 bestseller at the time for Christian biography.
Here it is on available on Amazon, as you can see it. A town called Sutherland Springs lived a quiet and obscurity until a madman entered First Baptist Church on November 5th, 2017.
And
And
look
the
at that, I got 4.8 stars.
4.8. That's great. Yep, and you've had 116 reviews. Well, if I ever get my book, Stephen, I think we've exchanged books. I will give you a review, a 5-star review. But
I'm gonna have to package you one up and send it to you, and I know and sign it, and I'll get my daughter to also sign it because she's my co-writer.
oh,
Right
great.
now,
How old is your daughter?
what's that?
How old is your daughter?
33.
All right, yeah, mine is 37, and she's also a writer. Interesting, but
Well,
I think this is a must read to understand the importance of the Second Amendment, because with the Second Amendment, the key is having good guys have guns, so when the bad guys come around, that they're taken care of quickly, versus most gun attacks occur in non-gun areas where they are
gun-free zones.
suppressed.
Yes.
Say again, say again.
In gun-free zones. But the thing I want most people to get from my book is the faith. Because without the faith, then there's nothing.
Well,
There's
God
nothing.
bless you. I love that.
And so faith first. Yes, it is a book about me grabbing a gun, but it's also a book that talks about my faith and even raising my children with faith. And God has truly blessed me, and that's what's most important in my life, in my book, and in my walk with God.
Well, I just saw the movie David. It's in the movie theaters. It's pretty cool. It's a movie about an evil person called Goliath who wanted to kill God's people. And there was this little man called David. He was one of the smallest guys around, and he had open carry. Back then, the open carry was a slingshot. You had a slingshot or a sword.
How
Basically,
accurate was the movie?
it was, relative. It's for kids. It's a kids movie.
I
So
understand for kids, but accuracy matters.
accuracy does matter. I was not very unhappy. I liked it, to be honest with you. I would recommend seeing it for kids, and then you can take the kids aside and you can explain the differences. For instance, since it's a kids movie, they can't show David cutting off the head of Goliath. That
Oh,
would be
yes,
yeah.
obviously, but
So from that perspective, it's not accurate. And there's a lot of other things in David's life that were pretty significant that really didn't get shown, which shouldn't for a kids movie. But I strongly recommend the movie David.
I have a lot of connection with David when I look at things. I think
Yes.
a lot.
Yeah.
And
Well,
I talk about David all the time. He was trained with that slingshot. Everybody wanted, King Saul wanted him to have his armor. And David put the armor on and he said, I am untested with it. He did not want the armor hanging on him. Of course, Saul wanted him to have the armor to represent the king. And David said, I am untested with it. He couldn't move with the armor. And he told Saul, God has delivered me from the paw of a bear and a lion. I'll bring you this Philistine's head. And so through the power of the God Almighty, I will bring you this Philistine's head. Uh, David was total faithful. And David knew that God was going to deliver Goliath into his hands. And so he was 100% willing and able. And with the training, and I truly believe if you own a firearm, you should train with it. I'm not going to say you have to, but if you think you would meet a Goliath and stop him, I would say that you should be trained with it. And
well,
God
that's
gave me,
very true, Stephen, because in the moment of truth, when you are Sunday afternoon, you're walking outside, you're inside your house barefoot, you hear gunshots, and who would know in a split second, a guy's shooting 10 shots at you, hitting the car in front of you, going over your head, hitting the building behind you. However, you had the presence of mind because of your training to shoot 6 times and hit him 6 times.
absolutely, absolutely.
Well, Stephen, I always love having you on. God bless you. And I appreciate you, and we'll see you next month. And let's stay in touch, my friend.
God bless.